beyond the sixth sense.
My name is Samantha. Since childhood, meditation has been a part of my life. While most people close their eyes and see darkness, I sometimes see something more. Fragments of memories, emotions that don't belong to me. And sometimes, the spirits of people who have not yet found peace. In my previous case, I helped a young man named Daniel finally move on from apartment 307. I believed I would have some time before another spirit crossed my path. I was wrong. 3 weeks later, I received a phone call that would become my next paranormal investigation. A call from a terrified woman, a woman who believed something was watching her family from outside their bedroom window. And after what I discovered there, I understood why. The caller's name was Sarah. Her voice trembled throughout the conversation. She lived with her husband, Michael, and their 5-year-old autistic daughter, Lily. They owned an old farmhouse nearly 2 hours away from my town. The farmhouse sat alone among endless fields and forests. A beautiful place. Quiet, remote. The kind of place where nothing should disturb you. Yet for 2 months, something had. Sarah explains that they had purchased the property 2 years earlier. During those first 2 years, life had been peaceful. Nothing unusual happened. No strange sounds, no ghost stories. Nothing. Then, everything changed. A few months earlier, their daughter Lily had been diagnosed with autism. The diagnosis wasn't the problem. They loved their daughter deeply. The challenge was the growing financial burden. Therapies, medical specialists, travel expenses, new educational programs. The costs piled up quickly. The couple began working longer hours. Stress filled the house. And that was when the strange occurrences began. Sarah described hearing footsteps in empty rooms. Heavy footsteps. Slow footsteps. As if someone wearing old boots walked through the farmhouse at night. Sometimes the sounds came from directly above their bedroom. Other times, from inside the walls. Michael repeatedly searched the property. He found nothing. Then came the shadows. Dark figures moving across hallways. Shapes disappearing around corners. Movements seen from the corner of the eye. Never directly. Always just beyond sight. But the strangest thing involved Lily. The little girl often stared toward the attic. Sometimes she smiled. Sometimes she waved. And once, she said something that frightened her parents. She pointed toward the ceiling and quietly said, "The jewelry lady is sad today." Neither parent knew what she meant. At the time, they assumed it was imagination. Until the smells began. Certain rooms suddenly filled with the scent of old perfume. Not modern perfume, something antique, something floral and dusty. The smell appeared without warning, sometimes lasting seconds, sometimes lasting hours. On several occasions, they also heard the sound of metal clinking together, like necklaces, bracelets, rings, jewelry being sorted by invisible hands. That was when Sarah called me, and after hearing her story, I agreed to investigate. The following morning, I drove to the farmhouse. The road seemed endless. Miles of empty fields stretched beneath gray skies. Eventually, the house appeared. Large, weathered, ancient. Standing alone at the edge of the forest. The moment I stepped out of my car, I felt it. A heaviness. Not evil, not aggressive, but possessive. Like entering someone's territory without permission. Sarah and Michael greeted me warmly. They looked exhausted. The kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot cure. Inside the house, everything appeared normal. Family photographs lined the walls. Children's toys rested on the floor. Nothing immediately suggested paranormal activity, yet I could feel something observing me, patiently, silently, waiting. Then I met Lily. The little girl looked at me for several seconds. Then she smiled and asked a question that sent chills through my body. "Can you see her too?" I knelt beside her. "Who?" "The jewelry lady." That evening, I stayed in the farmhouse. I wanted to experience whatever the family had been experiencing. Surprisingly, nothing happened. The night remained quiet. No footsteps, no shadows, no whispers, nothing. I slept peacefully. The next morning, I began exploring the property, room by room, floor by floor, looking for anything unusual. Eventually, my search led me to the attic. The attic was enormous. Dust floated through beams of sunlight. Old furniture sat abandoned in corners. Boxes covered with decades of dirt lined the walls. And scattered among the clutter were Lily's toys. Apparently, this had become her favorite place to play. As I walked across the wooden floor, something caught my attention. A section of carpet near the far wall looked different, slightly raised, as if something existed beneath it. I pulled the carpet aside and froze. Hidden underneath was a wooden trapdoor. The family had never noticed it. Neither had previous inspectors. The wood blended perfectly with the floor. Slowly, I opened it. A staircase descended into darkness. Cold air rushed upward. The temperature dropped instantly. I switched on my flashlight and began climbing down. The further I descended, the worse I felt. A strange pressure squeezed my chest. My stomach twisted. My head pounded. By the time I reached the bottom, I felt physically ill. The room below was unlike anything I had expected. It wasn't a cellar. It wasn't a storage room. It felt more like a private sanctuary, a secret room hidden from the world. Dust covered everything. Ancient shelves lined the walls. Broken furniture stood forgotten in corners. Yet, despite its age, the room felt important, as though someone had treasured it deeply. The sickness intensified. I immediately climbed back upstairs. Something wanted me to leave, and I knew meditation would reveal the reason. That evening, I sat alone in the attic. My crystals rested around me, my cross hung around my neck. I closed my eyes, slowed my breathing, and entered meditation. At first, there was only darkness, complete darkness. Then images began appearing, hundreds of sparkling gemstones, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, sapphires, gold necklaces, silver bracelets, jewelry everywhere. So much jewelry that it seemed impossible. Then I saw her, an elderly woman dressed in elegant clothing from another era. Her fingers glittered with rings. Pearls rested around her neck. Her expression was stern, protective, obsessive. Behind her stood an older gentleman, kind eyes, expensive suit, a wealthy businessman. Memories flooded my mind. The year was more than 100 years ago. The farmhouse belonged to them. The husband's name was Edward. The woman's name was Margaret. Edward adored his wife. Every birthday, every anniversary, every holiday, he gifted her another piece of jewelry. Margaret became obsessed. At first, it was harmless, a hobby. Then it became her entire life. She cataloged every piece, counted every gemstone, recorded every necklace, every bracelet, every ring, every brooch. She checked them daily, sometimes multiple times a day. Her greatest fear was losing them. The couple never had children, and as years passed, loneliness consumed Margaret. The jewelry became her family, her comfort, her purpose. Eventually, she built the hidden room beneath the attic, a secret place where no one could steal her treasures. There, she stored everything. And every evening, she sat among her collection, counting it, again and again and again, until the day she died. Edward passed away at 75. Margaret survived another 5 years. Even on her deathbed, she worried about only one thing. Not her health, not her future, not even death itself. She worried about her jewelry. And when she died, part of her remained behind, bound to the hidden room, bound to her possessions, unable to move on. I opened my eyes. The vision ended, but the story was incomplete. I still needed proof. The next morning, I returned to the secret room. This time, I searched more carefully. Behind stacks of old furniture, I discovered a framed photograph. The same couple from my vision, Edward and Margaret, exactly as I had seen them. Nearby, I found old documents containing their names. The vision had been real. Then I noticed a pile of filthy cloth in one corner. Something beneath it caught my attention. I moved the cloth aside and discovered a massive wooden chest. My heart raced. The moment my fingers touched the box, a violent shockwave surged through my body. Not electrical, spiritual. A powerful wave of emotion exploded inside me. Fear, possession, attachment, desperation. The room seemed to spin. For a moment, I heard dozens of metallic sounds surrounding me. Thousands of pieces of jewelry clinking together, as if invisible hands were protecting the treasure. I gripped the cross around my neck, held my crystal tightly, and sat on the floor. Then I entered meditation once more. Immediately, Margaret appeared. This time, she was angry. "Do not touch my belongings." Her voice echoed through my mind. "They are mine." I remained calm and listened. Margaret explained everything. For over a century, she had remained beside her treasure, watching, protecting, waiting. The family never disturbed her until 2 months ago, when little Lily discovered the hidden staircase during play. The child unknowingly entered the secret room. Margaret became terrified. Not because Lily meant harm, but because Margaret feared losing her collection. That fear triggered the disturbances, the footsteps, the shadows, the perfume, the sounds of jewelry. All attempts to protect what she believed still belonged to her. I gently explained the family's situation. I showed her memories of Sarah and Michael struggling to pay medical bills. I showed her Lily's therapy sessions, the long drives, the sacrifices, the exhaustion, the love they had for their daughter. I told Margaret something she had never considered. Your jewelry can help a child. For the first time, her expression softened. I reminded her that she had spent her entire life wishing for a family, wishing for children, wishing for grandchildren. Yet she had devoted herself to objects instead. Tears appeared in her eyes. She looked toward the memory of Lily, a child full of innocence, a child who needed help. Slowly, Margaret realized something. The jewelry no longer belonged to her, but the good it could do still mattered. When I emerged from meditation, I gathered Sarah and Michael. I told them everything, every vision, every discovery, every detail. At first, they were speechless. Then they listened quietly as I explained Margaret's story, the hidden room, the treasure, the spirit, the reason behind the haunting. For the first time in months, they felt hope. Several days later, we visited the local cemetery. Margaret's grave stood beside Edward's, just as I had seen in my vision. The family brought one final gift, the most precious piece from the collection, a magnificent necklace Margaret treasured above all others. We placed it beside her grave, a symbol, a farewell, a gesture of respect. As I stood there, a warm breeze moved through the cemetery. The atmosphere changed instantly. And then I saw them, not with my eyes, but with my spirit. Edward and Margaret standing together, hand in hand, smiling, peaceful, finally reunited. The light around them grew brighter, and together, they disappeared. The attachment was broken, Margaret was free. The remaining jewelry legally belonged to the current homeowners. After proper evaluation, its value exceeded anything they imagined. The collection would provide years of therapy and care for Lily. For the first time since her diagnosis, Sarah and Michael felt relief. Real relief. Not fear, not uncertainty, hope. Before leaving, Michael handed me an envelope. Inside was payment for my investigation, my first true remuneration, my first earnings as a psychic investigator. I accepted it with gratitude, not because of the money, but because it symbolized the beginning of a new chapter. My gift had helped someone. Perhaps this was why I had been given it. As I drove home, I felt peaceful. Another spirit had found freedom. Another family had found hope. But deep inside, I sensed something else, something waiting, something darker. That night, while meditating, I briefly saw an abandoned church standing deep within a forest. Its doors were open, its windows were broken, and inside, someone was waiting for me. Someone who did not want to be freed, someone who wanted to stay. And that investigation would become my third case. To be continued. Beyond the Sixth Sense, Episode 3, coming soon.
Beyond the sixth sense. Samantha closes her eyes, slow breath, sitting still in the dark. She can feel them, cold air, sudden chill. Beyond the sixth sense, she knows, she knows. Beyond the sixth sense, where every secret flows. Beyond the sixth. Beyond the sixth. Beyond the sixth sense, she feels them drawing near. Samantha sees and beyond the sixth sense. Beyond the sixth sense.